ladies and gentlemen, it's Mrs. Simmons here. Today I'm going to be talking about going from your general organizer into a full outline. Now, I do need to give a word of warning for any students who are not in my classroom. If you are not with me and a teacher asks for an outline, you need to do a proper formal outline. This includes Roman numerals, A's, B's, 1s, and 2s, all of that kabam. Now, if you are with me though, you really can just work on fleshing out this general organizer. It'll have the same general purpose and it'll do the same thing just without all those Roman numerals, A's, and 1s. So, the first thing that I want to point out here is that my general organizer here is pretty basic. There's very little actual information here. It was just helping me go through and consider what would I have as body paragraphs. I did have my citations, but there's more that I would need to do with it to make this actually functional for me when it goes to planning out for my rough draft. So, what I really want to do is I want to start giving more information. When I say started with media, I want to have more to say there. When I say change to user controlled, what do I really mean there? How did it change? What was some of those big changes? And then the last one here is now preferred for users than advertising. Well, that again is something that I would need more information on if I was actually writing this paper. One key thing that I really like to see from you guys is I would really like to see you actually write a topic sentence. It's the only thing I'm asking to be complete sentences. The idea behind this is that it forces you to write topic sentences that cover the whole paragraph and not just a part of the paragraph, or it helps you avoid starting off with a piece of evidence when really you should start with your words. So if I'm going to take this and try and flesh it out, the first thing that I'm going to do is give more evidence. When I'm finished with that, I would put my cursor at the end, I'd hit enter and tab. This gives me the little subtitle there. In that place, I'd want to put the commentary. Okay, now I also want to put the word explanation. Okay, we have to understand that research papers don't lend themselves well to the word analysis. I think that really throws students off. I like to say commentary or explanation. One of the things you should understand is that a research paper is never just a regurgitation of facts, the end, just an encyclopedia entry. It has to be a mix of you explaining and giving your slant to that information. What's significant about it? What should the reader be taking away from that? All of those ideas are really important when it comes to your commentary and explanation. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you what this would really look like. So if I select all, do paste, go back up to the top, this is much more fleshed out. So notice that 10 seconds ago, 5 seconds ago, what I had was very little. In fact, it was just this on that first bullet. So what did I mean when I say started with media? Well, I meant slogans, product ideas, and promotion. Okay, now I know that I have specific things I want to talk about that are from Mejia and Dominic's sources. I also did that enter tab after the end of the line, and I have some sort of explanation. What does this show the reader? Well, it shows that the industry had user-generated content first, and they were trying to make money off of users. So then, that's how it began. It changed to user-controlled. Well, how did it do it? This is what I originally had. I added all of this information. Now I want you to note, this is actually quite a bit of information. I have it moved online, so a lot of news organizations moved to online publications. They started using comments and tweets by their users in their material. We also had the advent of YouTube and any apps that went with that, especially with video sharing, and that made a huge change in the way that news organizations used video. So when the usage of those websites go up, so does how the user or the media uses it. Now this is a lot of information. This could easily be 2 different sentences. I want to stress that it is okay if you maybe have 2 sentences back to back that are just facts, as long as you then have something here that explains it. So what's important about this? Well, the shift of control allows users to have more say in what they want and forces companies to pay for the content or use it for free. It forces them to do it because users can now control the content that we put out there. We can control what we take video of, and when and if we decide to share it, they had to change their policies. The last thing that I have here is a shift from media to advertising alone, not even news organizations. So because it's such a big jump, you might consider putting in the word transition here. Now, I'm not saying you have to write a transition right there. I'm just saying you might put a note in there that you know that within that body paragraph, you need to transition to something that's similar but slightly different. So this is what I had originally on my third bullet, now preferred for users in advertising, but I decided that I want to use a quote for this. So instead of making my life a little bit more difficult and typing up the entire quote from this source, I instead just did the first two words. ... I know that I have more that I want to put there, I just don't have it yet, and I had decided not to type it up yet. That's okay. This is nice because when you go back to the source to find the quote, you can do that Control F, the find feature. You can Google these two or search these two words, and it should come up. Again, though, I don't just give evidence with nothing to show for it, so I have to have some sort of explanation. It shows that users dominate what companies put out, rather than companies alone making those decisions for users. So that's one body paragraph. Now look at all of this content. I needed to write a topic sentence for it. So up here, I wrote out a full sentence rather than just evolution. Now it says user-generated content is not necessarily a new idea, it is just evolved. Now, if you look at my body paragraph 2, I still need to write a topic sentence here. That's important. Please don't just give me topics. Now, I also want to say that this right here was just the first bullet. I added more information. Using a bad photo might be embarrassing to the writer. And then I explain being taken seriously, being treated professionally. Ooh, excuse me. All of those things are important if you want to be professional. So bad photo might make you look bad. Then I have payment. The example I decided to give was a news director having to pay $250 for a video, which was the standard for a freelance writer. Well, what does that mean? It shows that users are now being treated as a part of the media cycle. It also means they can take advantage of the media or attempt to in order to try and make some money. So that's something to consider that for news organizations. There's also the ethical issue that it might be unethical to take certain videos and images from users. It might be falsified, too grotesque. Perhaps it's going to be evidence for court and then it's inadmissible. They really have to consider their ethics. So they have to follow strict guidelines to remain ethical and avoid possibly losing their job due to ethics. The need for media literacy, you'll notice that these are different from these three. So again, I might put right here, transition, right? So as it's easier to share material, again I'm expanding on this, and fake images, the general public must be taught how to do this, how to be aware of it. Media guidelines cite this as a necessary step that we start teaching people how to notice when things are false, incorrect, poorly done, things like that. So it'll help users consume smarter, be more aware of the impact on their material, and figuring out what's true and not. So I want to stress these here are not finished. They need to be fleshed out. I still have my thesis statement. Remember, it is working. It can shift and change as necessary. When we do peer audits, we'll be looking at the thesis statement as well. So that is how you can take your very general organizer and try to start moving it into a much more specific document. Thanks. If you have questions, remember to ask in class, come during lunch, during advocacy, or shoot me an email, rsimmons1@usd259.net. Thank you guys, and good luck.